Welcome to One-on-One. I'm Greg Bassey, your host from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. It's the biggest day of the year here at PAC 14 because Jackie Jennings is here to talk about Clue Caper, the biggest, best fundraiser we have in our community every year. Welcome, Jackie.
Thank you. Biggest, best, absolutely.
All the other nonprofits are so jealous of your event. They all wish they could have a Clue Caper event. You have created this monster event, and it's coming up already. My golly, it's coming up. It's like the first sign of spring is Clue Caper. When is it?
Yeah, you'll see the Clue Caper signs going up pretty soon. So it's April 15th this year, which is, typically tax day.
Correct. Actually, tax day is the 16th this year, but that's okay.
Right.
Yes.
But, April 15th, tax day, that could be a clue.
Oh.
We're starting,
clue,
out of the gate
ding,
right here.
Clue,
exactly.
Ding, ding, clue.
Yeah,
okay.
Pay attention. We have a lot to cover in the next couple of minutes.
So what is the Clue Caper?
So the Clue Caper is a giant scavenger hunt all around Wicomico County. It raises money for the Village of Hope. We have about 50 teams that sign up every year.
50 teams.
Exactly. We limit it to 50 teams, so 2 to 5 players on each team. We recommend husbands and wives do not play together because it usually does not end well.
So it's like wallpapering together.
Exactly. But coworkers, family members,
Not
sisters.
your boss, though. Don't have your boss in the car.
It might be an interesting experience with
Yeah.
your boss. Anyway, so we put 50 teams together. We give them a clue book at the beginning of the race, and they have 3 hours to solve the clues in the book. There's usually 12 to 15 clues. Once they solve a clue, it takes them to a location somewhere in Wicomico County. When they get to the location, they have to complete a task. So one year they had to kayak across Johnson Pond.
Wow.
One year they had to take a fencing class. They might have to solve a puzzle. Once you complete the task, you get a stamp in your clue book. You head off to the next task.
Kind of like a passport?
Exactly. At the end of 3 hours, everyone reports back, and the team that has solved the most puzzles and completed the most tasks is the winner.
So if you haven't solved them all by the end of the 3 hours, you're not going to win.
You just come back and go to the party, which is, a great time. We have a party at the end of the race.
No, people totally get into this thing.
People not only totally get into this, but they take every opportunity to cheat along the way.
They use their cell phones?
It is, and this is the 9th year, which is really interesting because when we started, very few people had smartphones, and so they weren't Googling in the car. So we have really had to think about the clues and how we can make this challenging without people, looking on Wikipedia for all of the answers.
Right. But it's simple enough that you're not overwhelmed by it.
You're not overwhelmed by it. It gets harder and harder every year because the teams get smarter and smarter.
Right.
And we've had teams that have participated every single year, and so they know. I have a great clue committee, and they know how the committee thinks at this point. So we're trying to stay a step ahead of them. They're trying to stay a step ahead of us. It's pretty challenging this year, I will say.
You haven't had any repeat winners, but you've had some people that are upper echelons.
Right, we did have one.
Well.
We had one
Okay.
repeat winner. Search and Seizure was a great team that won back-to-back a couple of years ago.
What do they represent? Were they cops?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So
they're into clues anyway.
We have EMTs who participate, and really people who know the county well do best because they know the street names, they know the locations, they know the historical markers. We go across the board, so you'll find something interesting in Wicomico County that you didn't know about.
So it's a good way to connect with the community and to just be part of what you're up to.
Yeah, and it's also a great way to connect with local businesses. So we have a lot of local businesses who ask to host a clue site because it drives people to their location. And so they've all been really, really generous. And we try to find places. We try not to repeat the same location. So we'll have businesses in Pittsville or Willards or Hebron. We try to spread it out across the county. send everybody on their way.
So the party this year is where?
The party, so breaking news, the party is at Kylan Barn up in Del Mar.
Oh, Doug Marshall's place up there?
Exactly. We're very excited. It's a beautiful, beautiful venue right on a pond. The barn is gorgeous, so we're really
Right off
excited.
of 54.
Right off of 54, so we will start and end the race there this year. At the end of the day, everybody comes back, winners, losers. No matter how well you did in the race, we have a big party, food is provided, adult beverages are available, and we have a band, and it's a great time to end the day.
Do you have the band yet?
We do not have the band yet, I'll let you know.
But it's always a good band.
It's always a good band, yeah.
And finally, the irritation for me in recent years has been, it's been on Masters Sunday.
Yes.
The one Sunday that I devote myself to watching golf
Sorry
on
about
TV
that.
and falling asleep in my chair.
Right.
Actually, I fall asleep in my chair a lot when I think about it. But still, it's not on Masters Sunday
It's not
this
on
year.
Masters Sunday this year. Yeah, so every year we kind of have to plan around Easter.
Right.
So Easter is April 1st this year, so our event is 2 weeks after that. Now, this is the last year for the Clue Caper.
What? Huh?
This is the last year
I've
for the
heard
Clue
you say
Caper.
that before.
I know you've heard me say that
10
before.
years ago.
So this is the last year for the Clue Caper that the general public can sign up for. So if you've ever wanted to do the Clue Caper, this is the year you have to do it.
What's going to replace the Clue Caper?
So what happens next year for year 10?
Will all these nonprofits get a shot at the Clue
No,
Caper?
no,
now?
no. For our 10th year, next year, it will be the Tournament of Champions.
Ooh, like a Survivor kind of thing.
Exactly. So any winning team, so all of the winning teams, so not just winning teams, and we're going to talk about what they win in a minute because you haven't asked me that question.
Right.
The winning teams, the teams that have raised the most money over the years, best dressed teams. So we're going to take 20 winners, and it's going to be 20 teams, 20 clues, 20 hours. And
20 hours?
And it's going to be across the peninsula.
So it's going to be a true amazing race.
It's going to be a
kind of
true
thing.
amazing race, and it's already shaping up to be amazing.
Well, now, how are you going to involve spectators in this thing?
Well, you're going to have to figure that out, right? You're going to have to come and watch.
Because there's like 1,000 people that are involved in this.
It's going to be really, really fun. Yeah, it's going to be really fun. We have great ideas. I have a great clue committee who every year just comes up, manages to crank out these clues and diabolical,
20 hours.
20 hours, 20 teams, 20 clues, 20 hours. So in order to get in, you have to have been a previous winner,
Right.
a top fundraiser. So we'll have a selection committee, right? And then we'll rank everybody just like March Madness, and we'll get everybody in.
And people think this is a good idea.
Oh, they're so excited already. Yes, yeah. Teams are, it's going to be a really good time.
You should have that like in the other part of the season, like have the tournament champions
no,
in
this
the
is it.
fall.
This is the grand finale.
Okay.
The grand finale. So if you've ever wanted to do Clue Caper.
And there'll be no more Clue Caper in history after that, or at least.
So we're going to give it a rest for a little while, right? It's been 10 years. I need a little break.
Could you have imagined 10 years ago you'd still be
No,
doing
and
this?
and really the support of the community has been incredible. We never could have done this without the committee that helps put the clues together and the committee that does the party every single year and all of the, think how many, so 12 locations every year for the last 9 years.
Right.
That's a lot of places that have really opened their doors to us and let us come in and drive them crazy for a couple of hours. So yeah,
You see with these repetitive fundraisers where they have the same thing every year, they sort of go up and down in terms of being popular, and people are like, oh, I have to go do that thing again.
yeah.
And then sometimes they'll rally and come back. The Habitat for Humanity dinner
Yeah.
over the weekend, that was really well
Oh, good,
attended. It was a
nice, yeah.
huge event.
Yeah.
They had just a different location, and it just seemed to really put more energy back into the thing. But Clue Caper has kept its energy the whole time.
Well, and I think it's just a whole different animal, right? We started it 9 years ago. The Village of Hope had always done a gala. And you tend to see the same people at gala after gala after gala. You know that, right? So we
Right.
tried to think of something that was completely different. That
They always have me there to park the cars.
well,
so
there
that's
you
why,
go.
yeah.
Then talks. That didn't have, we didn't want people having to pay $125 a ticket, so it's $25 to enter the Clue Caper. You get to the race all day. You get a goodie bag at the beginning. You get food at the end. So we wanted to make it accessible to everyone. But we had no idea that, one, the teams would be this competitive, right? Because it is just bragging rights.
They talk
at
about
this
it
point.
all
They
year.
talk about it all year, and we've talked about this before. They try to bribe my children, right,
That's
into
true.
getting answers. I love it. So they talk about it all year. And we can reinvent it every year, right?
So,
If something doesn't
actually-
work,
You called me last year about the location of a park, just out of the blue, like in
right?
March. You just
Yeah,
called me.
exactly.
And I was like, why is
Why
she
do you need
calling?
that?
Why is she asking about that? And I was
Yeah.
like, wait, that's going to be a clue caper clue. Can I sell this to somebody?
And you probably could,
But I
right?
didn't know enough. There was not enough for me to put it together to have to be able
Okay,
to tell
yeah.
anybody.
Yeah, we're pretty stealthy about it. We have to be. We have to be. So yeah, I have a committee meeting at my dinner table tonight, so we're gonna get it wrapped up.
So when they raise money,
Mm-hmm.
there's all kinds of ways to raise money up front that will help get you a head start.
Exactly. So we ask the teams, we remind them that this is a fundraiser for the Village of Hope, and they raise money for their team. A lot of them start early. We've had teams that started fundraising about 6 months ago. So the team that raises the most money gets to start first. So if you think about it, we have all the teams in the room. We say, team number whatever, they all come up with crazy names and wear crazy costumes and crazy hats. Team whatever, you get to go first and they go off. So they get a head start. And then we hand a clue book out to each team based on the amount of money that they raised. So if you raised $100 for the Village of Hope, you start ahead of somebody who raised $99 for the Village of Hope. So
Right.
really, every dollar counts, and they go off and they do their thing. So the
And
more
they
money
don't
you raise,
speed necessarily. People take their time.
we have So we sit down with local police ahead of time, let them know where we're going to be, what we think the pain areas might be, and we
It's a
make
little
sure
lecture
everybody's.
usually.
There's a little lecture, and we'll give people speeding tickets, and if you get pulled over, you get disqualified. So
Really?
yeah, so
Oh,
please be careful.
interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so what are the prizes? What can I win?
All right, so the winning team gets $1,000 for their team, and then $1,000 to donate to the charity of their choice. And we did it that way. We've done it that way from the beginning, because we know how hard it is for nonprofits to raise money. So if you are, if you work for the Humane Society or you Life Crisis or you have a charity that's near and dear to your heart, we want you to participate in ours. But if you win, we want to also give back to your charity as well. So $1,000
So you
for
don't
the winning
expect them
team.
to kick it back to Village of Hope?
No, a lot of teams do, and we appreciate that, but absolutely, we want you to donate it to the charity of your choice. And then we give out prizes for the best dressed team, so the costumes get more and more elaborate every single year. We give a prize out for the best team name, so come up with something creative. We already have some really good ones this year. We give a prize for second place. It's kind of like the booby prize. And we have introduced a most clueless
Like the
winning
last
basket
place.
last year, right? So
Right.
the team that shows up and just didn't get it.
My producer, Tom Taylor, I believe, won that one.
I don't think he
No.
did, but
He wasn't even good enough to win the last place?
I don't remember, but yeah, it's a great event. So even if you don't win the top prize, right, you can win. Oh, we do a prize for the best fundraising team as well. There's plenty of opportunities to win.
How much does this thing raise?
So we were shocked. The first year, I think we raised $40,000.
Wow.
Our highest year, we raised almost $70,000. A lot of times, it ebbs and flows a little bit based on where Easter is,
Right.
and kids' spring breaks tend to get in the way sometimes. But typically, it raises about $50,000.
So that's by far the biggest thing that Village
It's
of
the
Hope
biggest
does.
fundraiser for the Village of Hope.
Right.
Yes, yeah, correct.
All right, so what is the Village of Hope?
I'm glad you asked.
Yeah, what's all this money going to be used for?
So the Village of Hope is transitional housing for women and children in Wicomico County. It is not a crisis shelter. We get that confusion a lot. There are great crisis shelters in Wicomico County on the Lower Shore. But what we have is a very structured residential 2-year program to get women situated to the point where homelessness is no longer an issue for them. So whatever they're dealing with, and it could be any number of things, we put them through this very structured program with social workers, medical care, care for their children.
And they're with their kids,
They're with their kids in a safe place.
getting acclimated to a normal.
Absolutely, and it might be there are reasons that you may not even think of, but have never learned to budget or need some parenting help. All of that kind of stuff we can address in this 2-year program.
I have those issues myself.
Well,
yeah.
see, you're not eligible.
Yeah.
But after 2 years of that structure, we put them, they can go back out and hopefully have dealt with the problems that got them into homelessness to begin with. We know that homelessness tends to perpetuate. So if we can break the cycle at that point, then those women, and especially those children, are in a much better place.
Right. It brings some stability and some
Exactly.
normalcy to what, and they hope to repeat that once they're gone.
Exactly. And we've had children. So the Village of Hope has been around for almost 30 years at this point. And we have had children who have lived at the village and are now grown up.
Wow.
And say, yeah, it was the most stability that you could have brought to my life at that point. So that's always really good to hear.
Right.
Yeah.
So on Lake Street, a beautiful facility.
Beautiful facility, yep. You'll see some building going on in front of it as well, so go over and check it out. But yeah, long history, so very stable nonprofit. And I've been involved with them for more than 10 years now, but very comfortable asking people to contribute to this cause because it is a really good cause.
Right. People confuse it with the Joseph House, which is still amazing to me.
Yeah, so at one time
20 years ago.
Well,
it
at
was
one time they
30
were
years
they
ago.
were
Yeah.
affiliated. Yes, they still are. But it's two different programs at this point. But yeah, we still have the identity crisis a little bit.
So if I'm not going to participate in this thing, but I want to help the Village of Hope, how do I do that?
Well, there are a couple of ways. One, you can come to the party. So the party at the end of the race is open for everybody, whether you participate in the race or not. And you can go on our website, greatcluecaper.com, to get party tickets. But generally, the Village of Hope is always looking for volunteers, for donations, people with special skills who can come in and help. And you can check on the Village of Hope website, which is villageofhope.us. So there's lots of Village of Hopes around the country, but we're the villageofhope.us
Right.
website.
And you had a really cool website for signing up. You still have that?
Yes, greatcluecaper.com. Jump on. It'll give you all kinds of information about signing up. We have a photo gallery for the last couple of years if you need costume ideas. It gives you some fundraising ideas for your team. If you need a quick and easy fundraiser, have a dress down day at work or do a bake sale, anything to give you that head start on your team. So all of that information is on there. We also have an online fundraising tool that people can use. So you can either sign up as a team or individually, send emails out to your friends and family and ask them to donate online. It's really quick and really easy.
Last year was at Headquarters Live.
Last year I was at Headquarters Live. It was a great venue.
Yeah.
We were sorry to see that go away.
Yeah, we all are.
Yeah.
Where was the year before?
Oh, that's a good
I
question.
remember it was at the Ward Foundation.
So
it was
we've
really
had
nice
it
there.
right. So we had it on the Downtown Plaza
Yeah.
the first year. We've had it at the Ward Museum. We had it at Red Roost.
Red Roost was
had
tough
it-
because it was a
It was
haul
far
down
away,
there.
right? Yeah. We had it at the Moose Lodge one year. So we've really, like I said, this community has been great. And every time we ask, hey, can you help us? We have a business or somebody step in and say yes.
And this year, Del Mar. I mean, a very convenient point. People think Del Mar is so far away, but it's a very convenient aspect of Del Mar.
It's going to be really interesting. Yeah, especially given where the clues are this year.
Where are the clues exactly?
I can't tell you.
So whenever I've been to this thing, I've been like at a base station, or I was at one of the sites actually testing
Right.
the people for their skill thing. But I don't really know what goes on the rest of the time. So kind of walk me through what, if I'm going to do this, what's my day going to be like?
Okay,
What's
so-
my 3 hours going to be like?
Right, so you have to register ahead of time. First of all, you can't just show up the day because we have to know you're coming so that we can prepare all the clue sites for the right number of people. So please register ahead of time at greatcluecaper.com. Okay, so your day. So you'll show up around 11 o'clock and you check in. You'll get your goodie bag. We have breakfast foods and snacks for people, water. You just hang out, you socialize with the other teams for a
But
little
no
while.
adult beverages yet.
No adult beverages just yet. No, we'll save that for later. So spend some time socializing with the team. Sometimes there's a clue in those couple of
Is there some
hours
trash
before it
talking
starts.
that goes
There's
on?
definitely trash talking, but it's a really good time.
But there's a clue sort of emanating around somehow, or
Maybe. Sometimes. Right? You never know. Anything can be a clue, we tell them. At 1 o'clock, we start promptly at 1 o'clock. We introduce everybody, we thank our sponsors, and then we send the teams off in order of the money that they raised.
so they run and get in their cars.
So they run and get in their cars, they come up, they get their clue book, which is sealed in an envelope, and then they run to their cars. And there's some strategy involved in that, which we can talk about in a minute. So at 1 o'clock, everybody goes off and does their thing. We break down the pre-party, set up for the post-party at 4 o'clock at that time. And the teams are running around the county, solving their clues and completing tasks and kayaking and pole dancing. They had to pole dance one year. That was a fun.
That's right.
That was a good time.
Yes.
So they're doing that. They spend 3 hours. They must be back at the location at exactly 4 o'clock.
That's a new thing. It used to go from point to point, but now it's a round trip.
Yeah, we used to start at the village, but we don't have room at the village to do it anymore because it's gotten bigger and bigger over the years. So we start and end at the same location. So they will all come back to the barn at that point, and we check them in. So you check in order, and then the teams go off and eat and drink and enjoy the band while we sit down and calculate all of the clue books and see who has solved the most puzzles. So that usually takes an hour or so for us to go through everything.
Right.
And then we announce the winners, and it's a great time and it's a great day. So the strategy involved, we have a lot of teams who grab their books and take off right away. They don't know where they're going, but they know they're going to go, right? And then we have teams who sit in the parking lot and try to solve as many of the clues as they can,
Really?
and then strategically move around the county.
Okay.
Right, because the last thing you want, right, is to drive all the way to Pittsville,
And they have to
come back, and then realize, oh, wait, there's another clue
Right.
in Pittsville.
And last year at Parsonsburg, there was something at the firehouse where you had to don fire protective gear.
Yeah,
or
2
is it-
years ago,
Oh, 2
exactly.
Years ago. Okay.
2 years ago, you had to suit up in
Right.
full firefighting gear. Move a trash can with a hose and come back.
And what I
So-
heard from that was people told me they had no idea how nice the Parsonsburg Fire Company was and how nice the people were.
Exactly.
They had never been in Parsonsburg,
Yes,
really.
Exactly. And that's why I love this event.
Yeah.
One, from the planning point of view, because I just spend all winter driving around the county looking for new and interesting locations. I mean, you would be shocked at the number of interesting buildings or historical markers or street intersections that are like, oh, who named that, right?
Right.
So I love that part, the planning part. But same thing, I love when our teams go around and say, hey, I never knew this was in Fruitland, or I
Right.
never knew that this historical marker was in Mardella. I didn't even know what Mardella Springs was, and there's an actual spring, right? So yeah, it's really fun. It's a great way for you to get to know your neighbors and get to know your community.
So these teams, when they're in the car,
Mm-hmm.
do they have like assigned jobs? I mean, one of the great golf scramble teams I was on was like really organized, and everyone had a role.
Yeah.
So like your job, you're putting first, you're reading his putt, you're the guy who picks up the flag, you're the guy who does this. Everyone had like they had a purpose. Is it that way in that car, so that not everyone's talking at once and one person's in charge of the map and the other person's in charge of the cell phone? I mean, how does that work?
Well, I don't know, and I've heard stories, and I would love to participate some year. Like I wish I could do both.
Well, could you do it next year?
No, we're well on our way to planning
Okay.
the 20 clue, 20 team, 20-hour extravaganza.
Like an honorary team?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know. I keep threatening every year that I want to put GoPros in all the cars because
Right.
I would love to see
hysterical.
the interaction. But it's great because we hear stories about people who, maybe 3 people on the team just can't figure out the clue, and there's somebody who thinks differently
Right.
or has a different experience, or who comes up with the answer. So it's really good to have a pretty diverse team in your car, people with different backgrounds, or some people who grew up here, some people who didn't grow up here. So it's fascinating to me to hear the stories, and we try to think about what the red herrings are, right? So where are we going to maybe
so
send you off in a different direction?
You trick them.
We don't trick them on purpose, but we. All right,
But
maybe
they
we do.
misunderstand.
Well, right, but the funny thing is when we come back to the party and we hear all the teams talking about it, they'll say, well, I read this clue and I was positive we were supposed to go to the zoo. And we're like, how the heck did you get zoo out of that? But they'll walk through it and it's perfectly logical, and it's just something that we never thought about. So
So you kind of overthink it, maybe.
right. So
Yeah.
our veteran teams will tell you absolutely positively, don't overthink it.
Yeah, I was always impressed the first couple of years. I think they even won it. My kids' school, the teachers, who always seemed not to have a lot of personality to me, but their personalities came out in this event, and they were actually funny and really smart, and they were a great team.
So I will put in a plug for WDS right now.
It was WDS.
My Common Code Day School.
I wasn't going to say
I'm
that.
putting it in
Yeah.
there. It's a great school, and the teachers are fantastic with lots of personality. But yes, they do have a team. Again, this year they are well on their way to raising some some good
And
money.
they have won it
So
before.
they have not won it before,
Oh.
but they have been in the top 2, the top 3, the
couple
top
times.
10 a couple of times. So this might be their year.
I remember
This
some
might be their year.
crying. Yeah.
I don't think that was crying. But I will say the team, so we have, these teams raise so much money every year. They do an amazing job. So we have a team called the Nutty Professors, who are professors at SU and UMES, who were our top fundraising team year after year after year until 2 years ago, where we have a team called the Woo Girls, who swooped in and last year raised $7,000, just that team.
Yes.
So these teams do an amazing job.
And they also had the best costumes, as I recall, from the...
They were pretty purple last
yeah,
year
they
with
were
like
all- yeah.
purple boas and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah, and Nutty Professors always wear their mortar boards and
Right.
they're professor-like. So yeah, but that really gives you the head start. So back to the car question. One of the things, if you raise $250, you get an extra clue book. So you can have people in the front seat and the people in the back seat solving different clues. And that gives you a
Oh,
little bit of an edge.
that's tricky.
Right? So you don't have to like keep passing the book around. So that's a good thing too.
Are there ads in the clue book? Your supporters are in there?
There are ads in the clue book. We have had many of the same gold and silver sponsors every year. So First Shore Federal, every single year, has been a gold sponsor from us since the very, very beginning. Peninsula Imaging has been a great sponsor for us since the very beginning. We have a new, really big sponsor this year, Mount Air.
Excellent.
Is a great sponsor for us. So yeah, the sponsors get lots and lots of eyeballs, right? Because people are going through the clue book all day long. Sometimes we hide the clues in the sponsor ads, which just adds a whole another layer of complexity to this.
Do you need Pack 14 or Salisbury Independent there? Is there
Yeah,
anything we can do to-
absolutely. We would love to have Pack 14 and Salisbury Independent in there. No, Pack 14 and Salisbury Independent have been great for us for the last couple of years, and we
Pack 14 was
absolutely
a clue
appreciate
site
it.
one year.
Pack 14 was a clue site one year. Teams had to come in and shoot a public service announcement. Yeah,
Which
so
we've kept as blackmail material for people.
I think that's probably an excellent idea. You never know when you might need that.
So what is the event?
The Great Clue Caper, an amazing race to benefit the Village of Hope, April 15th
April 15th.
this year.
That's a Sunday.
That's a Sunday afternoon. Register online at greatcluecaper.com.
She's Jackie Jennings. It's the highlight every year when she comes here to talk about the Great Clue Caper, and we're so excited to have her back here again. Thank you, Jackie.
Thanks for letting me come on. And I just want to say, so every year we have this conversation, right? And every year you're like, hey, tell me a clue. So
Wait,
I think I have one to tell you
got a
this year.
clue?
Yeah. All right. You can't tell, but...
First Shore Federal is proud to support PAC 14 and one-on-one. We'd encourage every business to support PAC 14 and pick a program and support it, and let's make a difference.